teach or do what they want to do in terms of their intellectual life. None of us is safe. The truth is not safe. And I will say this about the administration's abduction of people without any due process, without any trial, without any judge overseeing it. If somebody can be abducted in the United States and sent to a brutal prison in another land, none of us is safe. The next days and months and years will demand from all of us great courage and solidarity. Be prepared. Thank you.
Now up next, from African American Studies, my sister comrade, the Professor Lee Rayford, who knows how to defend history.
Hello. Hello, Berkeley. So yes, I'm Lee Rayford. I proudly come from African American Studies. We are a small but mighty department on campus, and we share building space with the departments of Gender and Women's Studies and Ethnic Studies. Now, these attacks on the freedom to speak, to teach, and to learn are not new to those of us in these departments on this campus. Over the past 8 years, since the first Trump administration, faculty in our units have been spied on in our classrooms. We've been doxxed. Our printers have been hacked to spew out white supremacist messages. Boo! Events in gender and women's studies have been targeted for harassment by outsiders. Boo! Ethnic studies received an envelope in their department mailbox purporting to be filled with anthrax. Boo! And for the last 3 years, our African American Studies departmental graduation has faced lawsuits from MAGA groups for being racist. The Trump administrations and the MAGA movement target us not simply because they hate diversity, or because they think we're a hotbed of wokeness, or because we introduce students to radical thinkers, or because we are challenging the foundations of Western civilization. We are doing this. But they have targeted our units for the same reasons they are targeting universities as a whole. Because our work is to produce new knowledge, to expand our histories, to offer fuller, more complete understandings of the world we inhabit together. And we undertake this work in the service of an educated public and for a more just world for all of us. Not just some of us, not just the 1% of us, not just the whitest of us, not just for the straightest of us, not just for the most able-bodied of us, a more just world for all of us. Just as the Trump administration is trying to tell us that climate change isn't real and that vaccinations don't protect us, they are also insisting that slavery was a benevolent institution, or that this country wasn't built by immigrants, or that trans people are not human, or that the mass murder of women and children, doctors, journalists, and academics in Gaza doesn't constitute war crimes. The administration is attempting to foist their backward, ignorant untruths, their long disproven ideas, and their factually wrong view of the world on the rest of us who know better. In their attacks on the university, they are trying to erase our histories, and they're trying to deny our humanity. But if this institution by its own stated values, innovation, student-centered education, diversity, academic freedom, a commitment to the public good, then it will recognize that the Department of Black Studies, Gender and Women's Studies, and Ethnic Studies aren't just doing valuable intellectual work. We are doing the work of this institution. We are stewards of the university values at the best. So, like this shirt that I have brought out from 8 years ago, because we keep coming back to do this shit, I urge you, I'm going to bring back an old chant. Whose university?
Our university!
Whose university?
Our university!
Whose university?
Our university!
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Next up, let us welcome to the mic Professor Edward Miguel in economics, who knows why research matters and who it can help. Welcome.
Hey everybody, can you guys hear me in the back? I'm Ted Miguel. I'm in the economics department here, and I'm also faculty co-director of the Center for Effective Global Action. I'm here for 3 reasons. First, I'm here for our research and our science. Second, I'm here for our democracy. And most importantly, I'm here for our students and their future in this great land of ours. At the very founding of the United States of America centuries ago, our founders laid out a unique vision of a democratic society, one where reason and scientific research were at the very foundation of society, together with open debate and dissent. John Adams, John Hancock, and other founders founded the American Academy of Arts and Sciences in 1780, while the revolution was still being fought, to promote scientific research as they saw it as essential to the health of our democracy.
That's correct.
And our founders' vision has paid off handsomely. Over the last 80 years, the United States has been at the very heart of global science and innovation. We've become the most prosperous nation in the history of human civilization. Science, democracy, and prosperity really do go hand in hand, as our founders had hoped. And threatening science and democracy cannot but help risk our well-being. But to get to where we are now, every generation had to fight to make our country more open, more democratic, and freer for all. Well, Berkeley, now is our time to fight. We need to struggle for our country. We need to struggle for our science, and we need to struggle for our students and their future. Because the Trump-Vance administration does not represent our country's core founding values.
No, they don't.
They want a society that is utterly different, one that trashes science and research, tearing down generations of progress. Unfortunately, I know about this firsthand, as most of the research grants in my own field of international development have recently been terminated suddenly and without explanation. Multiple critical projects have been stopped midstream, including promising drug trials for an HIV vaccine after decades of work. And all of that is in addition to the foreign aid flows that have been cut, leading to less food aid being delivered to hungry refugees, less treatment with antiretroviral therapy for millions around the world, and less monitoring of global infectious disease outbreaks. Simply put, this destruction of American science is not patriotic.
No, it's not.
They also want a society that trashes our democracy, our freedom of speech and the press, and respect for checks and balances. And they want a society that jeopardizes our students and their futures, that seeks to intimidate them, arrest them, deport them with or without cause. It doesn't matter to them. They want universities where ideas about climate change, racial equality, human rights, and LGBTQ folks are strictly off limits. That's why I'm here today. This is our struggle now, Berkeley, and it's going to take all our smarts and courage to win. But we have to win, and we're going to win.
Yes,
Let me just close with something personal. My mother is an immigrant from Poland. That's right, folks. I'm so proud to be from an immigrant family. Is anybody here an immigrant or from an immigrant family? She and my grandfather fled from communist Poland in the 1960s and moved to New York, where I was born. My mother told me stories about how the communist secret police would bang on the door in the middle of the night and take my grandfather away for questioning, sometimes for days of interrogation and torture. My mother and her family didn't know where he was, where he had been taken, whether he was safe, whether he was even alive. There were no legal protections when Poland lived under Russian occupation. And then earlier this week, I heard President Trump say that he has the authority to kidnap and send American persons, citizens and non-citizens alike, to lifetime imprisonment in El Salvador jails. No need for a trial, no need for evidence, no need for due process, depriving innocent people like Kilmar Abrego Garcia their freedom, subjecting them to torture. It's sick, it's sadistic, and it's barbaric. And it's a desecration of our tradition in America, what America stood for when my mother fled to New York for freedom. Now we know exactly what we're facing. There are no more illusions about just how dangerous this moment is for our beautiful country, our big, beautiful, diverse, democratic country. But I know something about you all. If I know anything about Berkeley and the Bay Area and California, it's that we here in Berkeley will never, ever bow down to a dictator. Or a king, or someone who wants to be a czar. Am I right, folks? Let's remember who we are and never let them take it away from us. We will never let them take our freedom away from us. We will never let them take our research away from us. And we will never, ever let them take Berkeley away from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next, Distinguished Professor of Law, Christopher Kultz, who has been leading the fight in the academic senate.
Thank you all. Wow, it is amazing to be standing here on the Mario Savio steps. It's particularly meaningful for me because my wife's parents were graduate students. Myra Jalen and Carl Riskett were graduate students during the FSM. They became leaders in the free speech movement. There were two young kids, young Jewish left-wing kids from New York City who came and encountered a repressive political environment. And they decided to fight. And who did they fight with? They made common cause. They made common cause with conservative Republican kids from Sacramento, and you can see pictures of them marching through that gate, defending the rights that we have as American citizens. Now, we think of the FSM as a student-led and student-fueled movement that helped make America's campuses places where we learn not only physics and poetry, economics and philosophy, but how to be free citizens, working out our collective futures together rather than having it dictated to us by the man. So yay, students! It was a student movement. Yay, students! But I'm here to tell you that the faculty at Berkeley also played a role in the successes of the FSM. On December 8th, 1964, the Berkeley Faculty Senate were appalled by what they saw as the administration's failure to respect students as citizens. And they voted overwhelmingly to demand that the university protect rather than threaten the First Amendment rights of students on campus. The UC administration's position essentially collapsed because of that faculty vote. Today, the threat to free speech and to our First Amendment freedom to learn, teach, and research comes from a much more dangerous source than university administrators. It comes from the President of the United States. So I want to tell you about a new Berkeley Academic Senate resolution to protect academic and political freedom. The resolution sponsored by, among many other people, the Berkeley Faculty Association and the Berkeley Faculty for Freedom to Learn. We faculty will meet on Zoom and vote next Tuesday at 3 p.m. to insist that the Office of the President fight this threat to our freedom and resist the outrageously Stalinist demands of the Trump administration that they made at Harvard and Columbia to install a MAGA commissar in every department and every unit of the campus. A second point we make in our resolution is equally important. Berkeley's foreign students and scholars are central to what makes us the greatest intellectual community on earth. They have become collateral damage in Trump's war on higher education. We believe that this university has a moral obligation to defend them against the arbitrary cancellation of their visas. The resolution insists on that as well. Now, I am not foolish enough to think that even a really sharp and well-crafted Faculty Senate resolution is enough to save American higher education. But I am hoping that my fellow faculty will join with me in using it to tell President Drake that we will be with him when he decides that Berkeley will stand with Harvard and meet this lawless and unconstitutional threat head-on. I am confident that our own campus leadership wants to fight rather than concede. Let's make sure that the Office of the President has their backs and ours. So fellow faculty, please Zoom in next Tuesday at 3 p.m. to the Academic Senate meeting to vote to stiffen the spine of President Drake and the Regents. You'll find in your email and online at the Academic Senate the text of the resolution and an explainer that I think does a good job of explaining why it's as detailed as it is, why it contests the Trump administration demands one by one. Students, pester your teachers until they promise to show up at the meeting in front of us. To defend your rights as well as their own. If we don't insist on our own freedom, no one else will. Let me close with just another personal anecdote. I'm privileged to have as a neighbor the great Berkeley psychologist, Dak Keltner. Many of you probably know him also as the creative genius, one of the creative geniuses behind Inside Out. Anyway, about a month or so ago, I was walking down the sidewalk, and I crossed Dak, and he said, "Hey, how are you?" And I said, "You know, man, I'm not doing so well. I'm usually not a panicky person, but my mind is racing from panic to panic, from higher education to the climate disaster to the poisoning of our rivers to civil war to, who knows why, but what do I do?" And he looked at me, he took me seriously, and he paused. He said one word. He said, "Fight." Fight and you will feel better. And the next day, literally the next day, I got invited to a meeting with a group of faculty, the Ad Hoc Coalition, that's the Berkeley Faculty for Freedom to Learn, and it felt like an enormous weight had lifted off my shoulders. So I found that fighting with others is so much better than panicking alone. So, find out who your neighbor is, march with them, meet with them, figure out what we're going to do, because we have to do this together, and we can do this together. We are going to win this one.
Next up, I want to welcome one of the many Berkeley Distinguished Teaching Award faculty that we're going to have on this stage, my colleague, Chicanx, Latinx, and Ethnic Studies Professor Pablo Gonzalez.
I know the moment feels like a lot. I know the uncertainty feels like you cannot move, like you can't breathe. Your chest tightens all of a sudden. That is the hopelessness creeping in. But I'm here to tell you that history is on our side. That it's the moment before we exhale and align ourselves with the battle ahead that hope makes its appearance. And this is where history plays an important part in understanding how we mobilize and fight. Close to 100 years ago, at the start of the Great Depression, orders came down in counties and towns across California and the Southwest to encourage self-deportation or repatriation, as they was termed. The deportation of Mexican residents, whether they were citizen or not. Eventually, the plan went from self-deportation to mass deportation of Mexicans. Close to 2 million over a period of 10 years. Families uprooted and sent to a country they barely knew. People snatched up from work while shopping or at the market, placed on trains headed to Mexico. People feared leaving their community, but they mobilized. They contested the deportations. They provided mutual aid to their neighbors. And they formed a formidable civil rights network that would challenge racial discrimination alongside African Americans and Asians. Similarly, just 10 years after the Great Depression, in 1942, the United States signed Executive Order 9066, demanding oaths of allegiance from Japanese Americans and Japanese nationals before they were forced into concentration camps across the country. Families lost their farms, homes, and possessions. Japanese and Japanese American residents were labeled enemies of the state. But they organized and mobilized against the removals and confronted the anti-Japanese hate through collective action. There are countless examples in history where the hopelessness creeps in. But in each and every one of these moments, it is through collectivity and community that we have mobilized and fought back. You know, it is the task of an ethnic studies professor to help students see beyond the sense of hopelessness and see the multiple horizons that lay ahead. It is also the task of the ethnic studies professor to help students with sounding the alarm. Like sentinels watching posts, sound the alarm that the storm is ahead. And in this case, to sound the alarm that the battle ahead is over our dignity, dignidad. The dignity to live in peace, whether in Palestine, Congo, Mexico, Jalisco, or the United States. The dignity to work without facing or fearing deportation. The dignity to receive an education without fear of losing financial aid or having your classmate kidnapped and sent to a detention center. And what is dignity? Dignity is that land without a passport or citizenship. There is no waiting period for dignity. Dignity doesn't hold you in temporary detention. It is a place without us or them, innocent or guilty, without constructing criminal or terrorist. Dignity is that place of encounter that we all seek to rest our heads from a long day of work. The native peoples of this land knew this for generations. The descendants of those kidnapped and chained in bondage knew this. That the lands that we are on for encounter and dialogue are not for war or anger. These lands where we are visitors are to rebuild the destruction of colonialism and war. Dignity is our most important and dangerous weapon. And this is what we learn in our classrooms. That is why they fear us expressing our dignity. That is why they defund us and ban us. That is why they imprison and torture us. They fear the sound of our dignity. They fear the dapke being danced. They fear the singing of the corrido. They fear the touch and smell of our dignity. The anger you feel, I feel it too. But it needs to turn to rage, a dignified rage, seeking to build a world where many worlds fit, and using the lessons of all elders and ancestors in struggle. I'll end with this. If this university and other universities truly want to address what many of our students feel, then that they're not welcomed, that they are not at home, then they must not capitulate. They must not sell us out by aiding in the stripping of our rights or supporting a genocide. It is a moment for the university to truly undo the harm it has caused for hundreds of years. And I think we can do this. I'm not Delulu. Imagine a new university that does not fear but invites. And to my colleagues across campus, this is not the time to close your doors and hope that no one comes knocking. Be the sanctuary and home that many of our students hoped you would become when they arrived. This is the moment for dignity and history, and we are up to the task. Thank you.
Thank you, Pablo. One announcement. If you are feeling the togetherness and you want to join our movement, we are selling t-shirts at the back. Consider getting ready for the next one. And now, with great pleasure, I introduce yet another award-winning educator in civil and environmental engineering, and a colleague of mine in faculty and staff for justice in Palestine, who knows why defending Palestine is central to the freedom to speak, Khalid Kadir.
I take your invitation, Pablo, and I stand here with rage, but a dignified rage. We come here today under the banner of freedom, the freedom to speak, to teach, to learn. But this slogan deceives us, for underneath this slogan is a great deception. Underneath this slogan lies an ugly reality that we have never been free on this campus. First, paraphrasing the words of the great Nelson Mandela, a man is not free who keeps others in chains. Here at the University of California, our supposed freedoms have always been dependent on keeping others in chains, upon the unfreedom of others. Look no farther than our $30 billion endowment, money that has long been invested in companies whose profits depend on the murder and the killing of others. In particular, this money has long been invested in companies who profit off of the colonization and genocide of the Palestinian people. We here at the University of California literally earn money off of the same process that is used to make the lives of the Palestinian people miserable every day. So long as our freedom depends on the colonization and genocide of Palestine, then we will never be free. If we are serious about wanting the freedom to speak, teach, and learn, then we must join hands and call for the boycotting, divestment, and sanctioning of the apartheid regime of the Israeli state. There is no freedom at UC Berkeley without the freedom of the Palestinian people. And there is a second part to this. We have never been free on this campus because we have never been free to speak, teach, or learn about Palestine. Those whose teaching and research include to focus on the colonization of Palestine have long been subject to systematic and organized harassment. We are falsely told that to speak of the liberation of Palestine is a form of anti-Semitism. Even our Jewish brothers and sisters who bravely speak out against the Zionist terror are themselves accused, ironically, of being anti-Semites. We must reject anti-Semitism always, everywhere, and in all forms. We must also reject the weaponization of anti-Semitism to silence calls for justice in Palestine. We must reject the absurd claim that criticism of the Israeli state is anti-Semitic. McCarthyism is not new to this campus. Those of us who believe in the rights of the Palestinian people have long experienced this chilling McCarthyism. And today we must stand here and fight not just against the new threat that has emerged in Washington, D.C., but against the threat that has long existed on this campus. We are and always have been unfree on campus, and Palestine is the litmus test of our freedom. Until Palestine is free, we will never be free. And I want to close here with a reminder of where we are today, lest we forget. Today, 29 more souls were stolen in Gaza. 29 more people were forever robbed of their freedom to live. This is on top of the hundreds of thousands who have been murdered in the past 18 months and the millions who have been murdered in the past 100 years in the attempt to colonize the land of Palestine. These women and children were murdered with bombs that were made here in the United States. And they were produced at great financial profit, including to us here at the University of California. This must end now. Let us break the chains that have tied us to the oppression of the Palestinian people. Let us stand up and refuse a false freedom that is dependent on the oppression of others. We will never be free until Palestine is free, so let us declare loudly, Free Palestine!
Thank you, Khaled. And now we are delighted to next have on stage with us the Executive Director of the Asian Law Caucus, who also knows how we got here today and is also fighting fascism with her expertise. Welcome, Artie Coley.
Whose university? Our university. I'm honored to be here, excuse my voice, I know I'm cold, representing the Asian Law Caucus, a civil rights organization founded by Berkeley law students who were the children of Japanese Americans unjustly incarcerated during World War II. I'm especially moved to be looking at you, our next generation of leaders. Berkeley was where I became politicized, where I learned about Asian American history and the struggles of people of color, and about civil rights, rights that are being rolled back today. You are very fortunate. You have a graduate student union and faculty members who worked tirelessly on your behalf. They were the first to contact Asian Law Caucus for help for international students, showing true solidarity. I also stand before you as the great-granddaughter of an Indian immigrant who came to America around 1915. Okay. Despite building a life here and contributing to this nation, he was denied citizenship because of the Asian Exclusion Act. Today, more than a century later, I see the same patterns of exclusion being continued. What we're witnessing, as you all know, is not subtle. And you've already heard international students, particularly those from India, China, Muslim majority countries, are being told their status as students is being terminated. Many receive no reason, no explanation, no opportunity to appeal. Some are targeted for minor infractions that would never disrupt a domestic student's education. Others are clearly targeted for their political viewpoints. protection. These students have every right to continue their education. Universities need to stand firm and allow these students to continue attending classes and pursuing their degrees while they challenge these wrongful terminations. And of course, we all know the Trump administration wants these students to capitulate without a fight. We cannot let that happen. At the Asian Law Caucus, we are connecting affected students with legal counsel, and particularly for many of those who cannot afford it. So, this is Berkeley. This campus knows how to fight for what's right. This campus knows how to make history. Those of us with privilege and power must step up and do more. You need to document these cases. You need to create support networks, help secure legal representation, and demand transparency from this university. History has taught us that resistance begins with refusing to accept injustice as inevitable. As everyone else has said before me, it begins with solidarity. When they target some of us, they threaten all of us. Today, we send a clear message. We stand for universities as safe spaces and bastions of free speech. We stand for institutions made richer by the diversity that international students bring. Berkeley taught me to fight for what's right, and today I see that spirit alive in all of you. Your advocacy matters. Don't stop fighting. Don't give in to fear. Remember, the people united will never be defeated. Repeat after me. The people united will never be defeated. Thank you.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Because you are all brothers and sisters. We are human beings. We are one family. UCAFT represents 350 librarians and more than 6,000 lecturers across 10 campuses of the University of California. We are educators. We are workers. We will not stand by while this lawless administration cancels our students' visas. We will not allow them to steal billions of our tax dollars for critical research. We will not let them destroy centers of learning that develop critical thinkers that see through their lies and propaganda. Our democracy and our society depends on us, the workers. And yes, we are all workers here unless you cut your own check. All of us. Those in power derive their power from the masses. Well, we, the workers, are the masses. And we are standing up against this fascist takeover. Our power comes from our unity and the courage to speak the truth. So why did Trump ban, among other words, community and activism from the federal government. Because he fears a community that is active. Get active! So what can you do? Join a union, or a professional association, or a community organization. Unity. These are the last bastions of democracy and some of the best ways to multiply your power. Unions have the infrastructure and the experience to fight against these attacks, not only on our university, but education at every level, everywhere. We do the work. We constantly fight for and win better learning and working conditions for us all. We take lawbreakers and exploiters, and yes, now kidnappers, to court. We also do all the small things that make the big ones possible. We talk to each other. We share experiences. We make art. We hand out flyers. We gather over meals and drinks. You can do that too. That is what union means. Gathering together to help each other and leverage our strengths through unity. We are all so lucky to be here now together. We must use our power to make a difference, to freaking save our democracy. No, sorry. To make our democracy better. Make it work for all of us, not just for billionaires interested in a techno-dictatorship. So as a kid, I often heard stories about the rise of Nazi Germany, and I couldn't understand how people would let that happen. So I asked myself, well, what would I have done? Well, now we can all answer that question, can't we? Do we sit by and watch it happen again as they start with immigrants and international students and move on to everyone else, group by group, until you are on a plane to a Salvadoran prison? No, of course not. Or do we stand up and fight? Together, fight together. And speaking of the power of labor, your UC Berkeley labor unions will be celebrating our strength May 1st, May 8th, International Workers' Day. When would that be? Oh, May 1st. So join us. See how good it feels to walk a picket line with our AFSCME union sisters and brothers as they will be striking for a fair contract on the same day here. Learn what democracy really looks like. Multiply your power. Solidarity!
Our last speaker before the teach-ins, speaking of faculty associations, is Zoe Hampstead of City and Regional Planning, announcing for us what Berkeley Faculty Association has cooking.
As a co-chair of the Berkeley Faculty Association, I'm here to tell you what the BFA is and what we can do to mobilize. The BFA is a faculty voice. Is that loud enough? A voice that has defended the public mission of the university for over 50 years. BFA works alongside our sister faculty associations across the University of California to defend public higher education. We have 3 priorities. We work together with unions on campus to improve the working conditions of all faculty. We work with the Academic Senate to defend shared governance across the University of California system. And finally, we work to defend the freedom to teach, to learn, and research. We are a chapter of the American Association of University Professors, the organization that is coordinating protests and legal actions right now with our sister chapters in the UC and across the nation to defend academic freedom and fight the federal cuts in the courts. As Berkeley Faculty Association, it is our role to work together with all these groups to stop the war on the American university. We know that the reason universities are facing an existential threat from an authoritarian government is because the public university is fundamental to a free and democratic society. But our work is not just to defend our freedom to research, to teach, and to learn. Our job, the job of all of us, is to build the public university we want. The public university that will not just resist authoritarianism, but one that will build the world we want to live in. On behalf of BFA, I invite you to join us.
Thank you. When we fight, we win. It is not over yet. Leslie Salzinger of Gender and Women's Studies is going to tell us all about the lineup of exciting teach-ins because we're at Berkeley. What we do is teach. So, it's up to you, Leslie.
Hey folks, so as Wada said, what we do here is we teach, we think, we do research, and so this is now an opportunity for everybody here, for faculty to hear our colleagues, for students to hear faculty they're not in classes with, for the public to understand what faculty think about what is going on. This is a moment in which we are getting the insights of people who've been thinking about these issues for years to frame what is happening today. And one of the amazing things you'll see is that people will disagree with each other, because what a university is a place where people think deeply and disagree fruitfully, and that's why we're here. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read the names of 4 panels. The tables start 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they will switch every 20 minutes. So I'll read the names of each one every 20 minutes, and you should go to whichever seems most enticing. So, for right now, number 1 is investigating Amazonian trees. How does the world's most diverse forest matter? And that is Professor Paul Fine, over there, number 1. Number 2, Trump, Trans, and Queer, Professor Paula Baqueta of Gender Studies, right there, number 2. And contextualizing the campus anti-Semitism crisis, Keith Feldman, Professor of Comparative Ethnic Studies, number 3. And Legacies of Protest at Cal Berkeley, Tony Platt, Distinguished Scholar at the Center for Study of Law and Society, number 4. And I will be back in 20 minutes to tell you the next lineup. Enjoy the beautiful feast of ideas before you.
And one little update for the students looking to get involved with Students for Freedom to Learn is to follow us on Instagram at sfl.berkeley. We'll update where we're meeting tomorrow. sfl.berkeley. We also will have people with sign-ups and QR codes for Let's Funnel today and to tomorrow. And we also have the lineup for the teach-ins on our Instagram, so follow.
Yeah, I get it. Good luck studying. And make sure you get your swag, because we are selling buttons, pins, we have masks, we have t-shirts, we have all kinds of things to help support the work we do. And again, the lineup for the subsequent teach-ins is on Instagram. Go get it. Great the speakers were awesome, right? My name is Juana. I know we realized that we did not introduce ourselves.
Campus workers are going on strike.
Saturday, 2 p.m., emergency protest. Get flyers, put them all over the doors, all over your neighborhood, wherever.
It was good. I'm asking
Palestinian, being free, that is descended to